All right, it's 7:05 and we're going to get started. I am so excited to be here tonight. I'm back on track. Normally, we do this program every 2 weeks, and I interview women artists of color. And I was only supposed to do 6 artists. And it's been going on since, oh my goodness, probably March, I think. And it's become an addiction, I think. And I get this, I get follow up, I get folks coming back. So I want to welcome everyone to Voices of Art, interviews with master artists. And I am so honored and just overjoyed to have someone who I've known for 28 years
Yeah. Oh
at least.
gosh.
Um, Laura James, master artist herself. And
I love it when you say that.
yeah, master artist. We have to call each other. We
Okay.
have to be master artists. Yes, we are.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Okay, yes, we've been around the block a lot of times. We've been out there.
Mhm,
A lot of things folks don't realize.
mhm,
And so hopefully we'll get to unlock some of those doors
mhm.
tonight. And then a little housekeeping. This is a webinar, so we will not hear anyone verbally, but you can ask questions in the chat box. We will go through the program, and then the last 15 or so minutes, we'll open up for questions. So we're going to get started. So, hey, Laura James.
Hello, Myra Brown Green.
Let's see, what's the first question I want to ask you? Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Brooklyn, and we lived in Bed-Stuy and I don't know if it's called Crown Heights, Prospect Heights, in Bed-Stuy, and then in Prospect Heights. So I grew up in Brooklyn. I lived there until I was about 30, and now I'm living in the Bronx for almost 20 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I've been up here for a while.
So which high school did you go to?
I went to LaGuardia High School Music and Art. It was like the
Oh.
first year that the two schools, performing arts and I think music and art, combined to make LaGuardia. So I went there. I was a voice major. I
Really?
sang, yeah. I was accepted there for vocal music, art, and instrumental music. But I went for vocal music, which is completely crazy. I only did that for 1 year, and then I did art for 1 year. And then actually the third year of high school, I went to City As School, which is an alternative high school for people
Mm-hmm.
who don't like high school. So,
Yeah.
and I did internships. Actually, I did them at photography with photographers and photography studios mostly, and an art gallery and different things like that. So, and I graduated from there. So I went to high school for 3 years.
Oh, you
But
went here too, Larry? Okay, so we'll get into that. We
okay,
have the Collective Fellowship and Peace Academy, our school.
right.
We had a relationship with City As uh, because my brother-in-law was the assistant principal there,
Oh,
Raymond Green. Did you know
okay.
him?
I don't.
Richard's brother. Yeah, so he was there. That's where he retired from.
Hmm.
And Basquiat went there, right?
Oh, did he? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They actually
Okay.
found some of his old
Oh,
sketches
is that
like a
right?
few years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
he ended up going there. So oh wow. Okay, so
I
that's
used to think
interesting.
it was like, oh, oh no, that's like, it's like, oh, you dropped out of high school and went to City As, but not really. I learned a lot. I learned more than I probably did at high school, just being out in the world and, and experiencing things and seeing people doing art and making money at it and thinking that I could do that myself. So it was actually a good thing for me.
Yeah, I loved City As. I think it's changed a little bit now,
Mhm.
but back in the day when we had our school, I
Right,
mean, we used to have students come to us as well, where
right.
we mentored. some of them. And then our students would go there to take the SATs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we would go and join, take the PSATs and the SATs with their students.
Mhm.
So, so when did you realize you wanted to become a painter?
Well, it really was very accidental, and we'll talk about it more with the slides. But
Hmm.
I like to paint. I like to make things. I like to draw and take photos. But I never said, "Oh, I'm going to be a painter." We'll talk about it later. But I came upon this book, and I just started to sort of practice this, the Ethiopian Christian art style of painting, and I just sort of just kept doing it because I like to make things. I like painting, and very early on, I was able to sell some of those paintings and show them in an exhibit and things like this. I mean, very early, within like the first year of painting,
Wow.
I I want to say that I was lucky, and I suppose it was luck. I don't know what it was, but I was fortunate to be able to, you know, to do something with my art very early on, and to realize that I could do this as as a living, perhaps. And it was actually many years later that I said, "Oh, I'm an artist." I mean, maybe like 10 years. Like I've been doing it for 10 years, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm an artist." I wasn't like, "Oh, I'm going to be a painter. I'm going to be an artist." It just sort of happened.
Hmm. So why Ethiopian style? Why the Ethiopian style? How did that come about?
Well, as we'll talk about with the slides, okay, so I went to church with my family until I was 17, grew up going to church, and, you know, um, it was a big influence on my life in terms of having to go and being exposed to the Bible stories and what have you. And although we didn't have any pictures at the church that we went to, there were no pictures, and you're not supposed to image Bible characters or anything like this. So when I did see this book with angels, and they were black, and you know, I was really taken by it, and I just sort of fell in love with it. It's an ancient style of painting. It's been around since the fourth century in Ethiopia, a traditional painting style, and it really spoke to me. You know, I like design, I like colors, I like patterns and little dots, and just I like all of that stuff. So I just really fell in love with it and spoke
So
to me.
you have a you have two children or
I
three
have
children?
3 children,
Okay, two.
two
uh,
daughters and a son.
Okay, all right. Yes. And you so what else do you do besides, I know, and we're going to get into it, but I do want you to mention, because I mean, you have a broad sense. And
Mm,
so I know you curate. I
mhm.
know that you're an administrator of the arts as well. So can you just speak to that a little bit
Well,
before we get into
what I would
some?
say about that is, when you remember Ife Tayo, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
It was a Ife Tayo Cultural Arts Facility is what it was called back in the day. But there was this huge space, 5,000 square feet, that a friend used to run. And she said, "Do you want to have an art show here?" And I was like, "Okay," but there was no way I could fill out that whole space. So I asked a friend of mine to help me put together a show, and we invited 15 artists to to hang their work in this space. And so that was the first show that I curated. And where I'm going with this is that I like to involve people in what I'm doing and
Mhm.
work with people. So, ever since then, I was like 21 or something like that, really early on. I just like to present other artists and to help them to get out there, to show their work, to be seen. It's important to me to help other people. That's something that I do. I like to do it, and it's sort of easy for me. And if I have an opportunity that I can share with somebody else, I like to do that. So
Yeah.
I've been doing it ever since.
And I have to say, thank you for asking me to show with you at the Puck Building.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of the show. It
Art
was
off the Main
Art Off the
with
Main,
Loris
that's right, with
Crawford.
Loris,
Hmm.
yes. And that was a wonderful show. We had angels. I had quilted angels, and you
Yes.
had your angels, and that was really beautiful. So what I'm going to do, because I think it'll make it a lot easier for you, if I show the images and we talk about them. For
Okay.
those of you in the audience who have been coming back week after week, you know that I am a lover of quotes. So, and they serve as a transition between the images. And so I have some quotes that Laura doesn't know that I've chosen to go with her work. So, so give me a second. I'm going to share the screen and we'll start looking at images. Okay, here we go. Um, let's see. Okay, slideshow. Okay, all right. Okay, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Seneca. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay, so I usually start with this picture when I talk about my work. This is these are a couple of images from a children's Bible that we used to have when I was a child. You know, like I said, in our church, we didn't have pictures, but we had Bibles. We had children's Bibles. And this, you know, no matter what Bible it was, Jesus was always blonde with blue eyes. And Jesus was really blonde. He was just like ridiculously blonde. And the Black people, like you can see in the first image, you know, they look like animals. Let's just put it like that, you know? So although we weren't supposed to, yeah, somebody says memories, right? Because I think everybody had the Bible like this, you know, it wasn't just me. You know, I didn't really know what this was exactly when I was a little child, but I did kind of feel like, you know, even reading the Bible stories and seeing these pictures, it was really more of a fantasy type of thing. You know, it didn't seem realistic to me because, you know, this is not realistic. These images are not realistic. So, you know, I came across this book again, even though I had it in my library. I came across it years after I started painting. And it really struck me. I was like, oh, you know, it's like, you know, this probably has something to do with why I'm painting these images now, you know, just it's like the complete opposite of what I saw in church, you know.
Wow.
Okay, so this is a book that I was walking around in Bed-Stuy and I was about 19 and I saw this book in the Botanica window. And, you know, after seeing all those other images and just not feeling like I was a part of that at all, this really spoke to me, you know. And it looked like, with everything being outlined in black like this, it looked like I could maybe do this. You know, I wasn't really a painter at the time, but I thought it was easy enough. Maybe I could, you know, I could do this. So I took this book home and I read the book. You know, it said how the laymen priests at the churches would paint these images and they would copy them. They say that, you know, some of the original images were sent down from the heavens with angels or what have you. And so they would copy them. And so I was like, okay, so I'm going to make a couple of these paintings. I'm going to copy them. And I did. And so that was my first practice at painting these type of work. And this, I just wanted to show, this is an original Ethiopian manuscript. You can see how, you know, it's a little tiny thing and people carry these things around with them. You know, I just always love words, to see the words and the pictures together. Even though I can't read these words, you know, it was always interesting to me to see that, you know, you can read the story, you can see the story. and
Yeah.
you can also carry it around as something personal. I you know, I saw lots of images from Ethiopian art. I went looking for them because they weren't really readily available at first, 30 years ago.
Mhm.
So I had to look really hard, but it was always like a treasure to see
Wow.
something new in the Ethiopia painted this way. And I remember that people would say, "Oh, did you make this up? Like, this is great. Like, this is like unique and what have you." And I was like, "No, I didn't make this up at all. It's been around since the fourth century, you know." But yeah, I just wanted to show this
Do
picture
you
to
know
you.
if that language is Amharic?
Yes, Amharic.
Okay. We had someone teach that in our
Yes,
school.
I
You
remember.
remember that, right?
I do.
Now go, write it on a tablet before them, and inscribe it on a scroll, that it may serve in the time to come as a witness forever. Isaiah
Forever.
38.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are actually two paintings that I did pretty early on. We used to live in a big a big apartment, so there was a huge wall. And okay, so King Solomon and Queen Makeda of Sheba is a popular Ethiopian story, and painted many times by many people. So I was like, I'm gonna try my hand at that. This was actually the first painting that I did this way, and honestly, this was probably about, I don't know, maybe the fifth or sixth painting that I did. um, it was a huge painting, and I thought it was pretty good. So I started to make more. And then I did this Noah and the flood. And basically, once again, I just like the idea of writing the words as well as making the pictures so that people could, see it and read it as well.
Wow, that's like patience. I mean,
Yeah,
how
these
long
are
would it
early.
how long did it take you to do like the King Solomon?
It probably took like maybe 3 weeks. It did, hey, I was like 20 years old. I had nothing else to do, so I would just sit there and paint all day long, you
Wow.
know.
Wow.
So yeah, I did it pretty quickly, I think.
Were
Yeah,
you
but it
supported?
was.
Were
I'm
you
sorry.
supported by your mom?
Well,
Uh,
yes, and even though my parents, it's like another story altogether, but they actually went back to their country, Antigua, when I was 17, and my older sister was 19, and we were so very happy to see them go. But that was actually quite young to leave your kids and go, to leave your kids anyway. But we didn't have to pay rent. We lived in their house, and so I didn't have to make money really, and I did make money, like um, selling my paintings from
nice.
time to time. But 100%, if I didn't have that arrangement, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do this. So I am grateful that I did have the opportunity to, sort of be, not stressed to make money, and you know,
Yeah, and I probably did not ask the question correctly, and thank you for sharing that. I wasn't prying in that. What I meant was, were you supported in your arts, in the arts that you did, not financially?
you
Um,
mean by my parents or?
yeah, yeah, because
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, first of all, well, they weren't really around, but they weren't, so keen about it. They would have just rather that I just like gone to college and did something else.
mhm,
But they didn't say no, don't do it, you
yeah,
know.
hmm
And here are just a couple more pictures that I did early
beautiful,
on.
absolutely. Do you have any of these still?
No, I don't. No, I was fortunate that I was able to sell them. The one on top was a commission for uh, Dr. Emma Sampson, who is she actually had the painting made for her husband,
Mhm,
who was being um, ordained, I believe, and they run Concord Baptist Church now in Brooklyn. So
mhm.
it's hanging there in his office still, and I know that it is one of their prized possessions. So
I can
they let me
imagine.
borrow it from time to time, but that was his favorite story, the story of Jacob. I still remember her coming to pick it up, And she was so excited, and I was very excited too. It was probably one of the first commissions that I had. I wasn't going to say the first because I know what the first was, but it was one of the first.
Are they painted on canvas?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, the one underneath is on Masonite, but mostly I paint on canvas
Mhm.
or wood.
Yeah. The country is so wounded, bleeding, and hurt right now. The country needs to be healed. It's not going to be healed from the top politically. How are we going to heal? Art is the healing force,
Hmm.
by Robert Redford at the National Arts Policy Roundtable in 2012.
Well, this is a good piece to come after that. These are actually, Myra. So Myra and Richard Green, they commissioned me to make this mural and to actually make 11 murals around the time of the Crown Heights riots. I don't even, when was that? Like in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first commission that I had 28 years ago, maybe 27 years ago.
Wow.
And like I was telling you before, I was so excited to be asked to make this painting that hung outside of the collective for many years. And just to be able to to paint out on the street and to have people see it, and I just was really happy to have this commission. I'm looking at it. It really brings back memories.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and we were talking yesterday, and how it never got graffitied, never.
Good.
I mean, murals get graffitied, but for some reason, I don't know if it had to do with the angels, which I think
Hmm.
it probably did have a lot to do with the angels and maybe the collective,
Right.
but it never got graffitied. Yeah. So, and the one on the
So,
right, where was that?
well, okay, so I actually created an exhibit with photographer Jamel Shabazz's work, and I was doing a studio visit, and he was just showing me like 3x5 photos. I had the stack of photos, and I came across this one that he took in Crown Heights with one of the angels, and you can even see my name on the bottom there. I'm just noticing that now. You can see it says Laura James. I was so excited to see this photo, and these were just around Crown Heights. I can remember like going with my cart, just you're like, okay, go to that corner over there and do an angel. And I ended up doing 11 of them. So
Wow,
this was somewhere in Crown Heights.
nice, nice.
And actually, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh
I was
yeah.
just going to mention that this book, because this was in a book. I don't even have a photo of this, Myra. I don't know if you do, but this was in a book. I think it's called On Common Ground, with different murals in
Oh yeah, I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think I
a
have a
collection
copy
of
of it.
murals,
I
right,
think
from
I have a
around New
copy
York
of the book.
City.
Yeah,
I was happy to be included in that.
yeah, I love it. I love it. It is impossible for the mind not to be approached by thoughts, but it is in the power of every man or woman either to admit them or reject them. As then, their rising up does not entirely depend on ourselves, so the rejection or admission of them lies in our own power. Saint
Mm,
Moses of Ethiopia.
mm. So these are some paintings that I did early on. Like I was saying, people weren't familiar with this style of painting at all. And so I wanted to do some Ethiopian saints. I wanted to tell their stories as well. Because I like to tell stories, coming from, the reading the Bible and what have you. It's like I like to, I'm not an abstract painter. I like to say something. I like to tell a story. And there are tons of Ethiopian saints. So I was happy to paint quite a few of them. And these are three different stories. These are just more paintings that I did in the style.
Mm-hmm.
Here are three Marys that I did. Mary is a very important subject in Ethiopian art. And actually, there are probably just a handful of themes that are traditionally painted, Mary being one of them, you know, the crucifixion, maybe nativity. There aren't that many different Bible stories that are actually painted in this way. That so painting, even crossing the Red Sea, and you know, different. And okay, so Saint George is definitely a popular story, but I expanded on the stories that were being painted, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in this style. So,
Mm-hmm.
but Mary is definitely traditional.
Do you use acrylic, oil?
I use acrylics.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
And these are just two, you know, different style, but still Ethiopian.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I like design, I like details. So,
Mm-hmm.
and here are just, you know, these are two more recent pieces. The one on the right was a commission from the Office of Black Ministry for Cardinal Egan. I'm sorry, Cardinal Dolan, when he became the I'm sorry, the cardinal, when he became the Cardinal of New York. They
Mm-hmm.
asked me to make this painting for him with his slogan, Lord, to whom shall we go? And I just want to say, you know, I do work on commission a lot, and, you know, people will say, okay, so I want you to paint a Bible verse, you know, or a couple of words. And it's always like interesting to think about it. Like, what am I going to paint, you know? And this was just, Lord, to whom shall we go? And so, you know, I had to come up with a paint, you know, come up with an image, but I like it. I like it a lot.
I love it.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
So here I was just showing, we actually did a project called Stations for Sassier. We were trying to get 14 stations down to Haiti. I have a friend who works in Haiti. She helps to renovate churches. Her organization renovates churches, and she was telling me a story about how in one church the pastor had ripped out, um, you know, pictures of the 14 stations from a little, just a magazine. They were just these little black and white drawings from a magazine, and pasted them on the church walls, because you know every Catholic church is supposed to have 14 stations. And so I said, you know, we should make some stations for them. And we actually raised money to do that. So we did an Indiegogo campaign, and we raised money to have original paintings made for one church, and then we sent two sets of prints to two other churches. And actually, you can show the other picture too, Myra. Unfortunately, the originals are still here in New York, because, and it's literally been 10 years, maybe not that long, but a very long time, that just one sort of catastrophe after another has hindered the paintings from actually reaching Haiti. The latest one being, you know, the president of the United States, and just the trouble that's going on there now. It's just not even safe to send anything there. So we're hoping that hopefully next year we'll be able to do it.
Mm.
These are, I'm sorry,
Oh,
that
let me
last
go back.
picture was a church in that we sent the prints to. They had the children make this photo for us.
Nice. This is so beautiful. If you believe what you like in the Gospels and reject what you don't like, it is not the gospel you believe, but yourself. St. Augustine.
Mm.
So this is one of my favorite projects that you did. I've given gifts to people of this book. Oh, so can you talk about it a little?
Yeah, yes, this was a great project for me. Maybe like 10 years into painting, I had a website, which, you know, a lot of people didn't have a website back then. You know, people didn't want to have their work online because somebody might steal it or whatever. And but I always thought, you know, it was like, once I was able to get a website, you know, it's like, this is just a great way for people to see my work. And actually, the publisher of this book, Liturgy Training Publications, one of their people saw my work online, and that's how they came to hire me. They commissioned me to make 34 paintings for a new reading of the Book of the Gospels, and they were interested in showing the diversity of the church, and not showing Jesus blonde and blue-eyed. So they wanted to have my work. And I'm not being Catholic, I had no idea what an important book it was until I actually got the book in the mail. And it was like 11 pounds. It's this huge book. And then seeing these pictures and actually I've seen it used a few times. They carry it into the church on Sundays. It's a book that they only use on Sundays. And actually most people don't even ever get to see inside of it. So that's why the cover is like so shiny and bright. But it was a big deal for me. I was very happy to do it, and even happier once I saw what it really was. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think, these are just some pictures for the inside of the book. It's actually in its second printing now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's used all over the world in different churches, not just Catholic churches, all kinds of churches. There's a church here in the city where they have like pasted in photocopies of a different reading, because they're a Protestant church, Pentecostal, I think. So they have a different reading of the Gospels, and so they have it's like pasted in. But they love the book, they love the pictures. So
That's beautiful.
yeah, and these are a few more pictures from the book.
Mm.
And this picture I just wanted to point out Brother Tyrone Davis. You can see in the top picture, he runs the Office of Black Ministry here in New York, and he was a big champion of my work early on. I guess after he saw the Bible, he wanted people to know about my work, and he had a couple of receptions for me with showing the art from the Bible. And also, I just wanted to point out on the bottom right, that was from a retrospective that I had in 2007 at the College of New Rochelle, where they had pretty much all of the pictures from the book there. And you can see some people looking at it in this picture. But that was actually a great event for me. We had almost 100 of my paintings in 3 rooms. And, I think it was 15 years maybe 15 years that I had been painting at the time. So, it was great. It was a great accomplishment, and I was really happy that day.
Oh, I can imagine.
And this is just, somebody pointed out to me that the book was in the Spike Lee movie. I think, what was it called? Something about Chi-Town or something. I'm sorry, I don't even know the name of the movie. But there was this whole scene where they're dancing around the Bible, which was sort of interesting. And then on the right, you can see this is someone sent me this photo. It's in Uganda. They I guess it was a Sunday procession, and they were carrying the book.
Nice. Illustrate from the heart. A book without a pulse is like a person without a spirit. Linda Rodkay, president of 5 Star Publications. So these are some of your books, some of the books that you've done cover.
Yeah, these are some of my images in print. So I work with I've been working with them now for a very long time, probably 20 years. Bridgman Image Library out of London. They're pretty much worldwide, but they have a lot of my images and they license them so people can use the work in different publications and different kinds of media. I would just point out the picture in the middle on top. That was one of the first ones that I one of the first books that I had my work in. And I remember getting this book and seeing that Jesus next to my Jesus, because that white Jesus there, we used to have that picture hanging in my house when I was growing up. And when I saw both of these images together, I was like, oh my goodness. It was just really, it was really touching. And I sent that to my father, who was like, oh, he didn't really know what I was doing at the time. But when he saw that, he was like, oh, maybe she's onto something, you know.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, and this is just some more images. And I will just point out in this Finding Forgiveness with Pope Francis, that was from a few years ago. And I remember getting this book in the mail, and I looked at it for so long because something was just off and I couldn't tell what it was. But then I realized that they actually lied in Jesus. Like they made him lighter in this, and I could tell that because they forgot to lighten his neck and also around his mouth.
Oh.
Is that crazy? And I complained, but I figured if you wanted Jesus not to be white, maybe you should have just got a white Jesus. I don't know. But they apologized and said that they would change it if they printed it again. I thought it was pretty ridiculous.
Laura, the circle image, do we have, let me see if we have, no, I don't think so.
No, well, no, there's another image of that of a similar thing later on. But this is a calendar that I did with Liturgy Training Publications. They're the people who published the Book of the Gospels. And I've worked with them now ever since then. They hire me to do certain things. This is they have a calendar, a liturgical calendar that they put out every year. And I did one 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or actually 15 years ago, 10 years ago. And now I did another one that's coming out. Well, it's out now, but it's for 2021. So this was the one that I did 5 years ago. It was Women in the Bible.
Oh, nice. These are children's books.
Yes, these are 2 children's books that I illustrated. I was commissioned by Tradewind Books. I think Michael Katz, the publisher, might still be on the line. And they found my work online as well. I think that's actually where most people find my work. So I'm not exactly sure how they came across it, but they were looking for someone to illustrate this story by Olive Senior, who's a very important writer from Jamaica. And when I think he says when he saw my work, he was like, "Oh, that's what we want." So I was, I've never illustrated a children's book. It was very hard. And, it kind of took me a while because I paint, everything is a painting. I paint with tiny little brushes. I actually have one of them right here. They're very little and it takes me a long time. So, but I got through it and I'm very pleased with both of the books. Bunu Nunu's Hair came out last year. And so that's, they're both still in print. They're both out there. Yeah, I was very pleased with them both.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Thank you.
And folks can get them on Amazon?
On Amazon, sure.
Okay. The moment you doubt whether you can fly, you cease forever to be able to do it. M. Barrie, Peter Pan.
Yeah, that's a good one for this.
Mm-hmm.
These are I just wanted, okay, so I didn't just want to paint religious paintings. I wanted to paint other things. So these are I call it my secular work, for lack of a better term, and these are a few paintings I did early on when I was living in Brooklyn. The first one is Black Girl with Wings. That was a very early painting. And, I like to say she's not an angel. She's a black girl with wings,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. People seem to like them.
Do you still sell the print?
I actually don't have prints, but I could possibly have prints, but I don't have any prints of those. And they have been collected.
I think you used to sell.
Yes, I did. I used
to
have
okay,
prints.
Because I think one of my daughters.
Yeah, I used to have prints of that.
Home. Yeah, I love it. I love them all.
Thank you.
As women, we have superpowers. We are sisters. We are healers. We are mothers. We are goddess warriors. Merle Dandridge. Okay.
Yeah, so these are, I was telling Myra yesterday, I was inspired by, I actually saw this statuette when I was visiting Puerto Rico, and I was just struck by how, in the Caribbean, there's every race of people. in the Caribbean, you know? So I wanted to reimagine the statuette as, you know, the grandmother of everybody, you
Mm.
know? And so she's set in the Caribbean with, and everything around her can be found in the Caribbean or in Africa. So this is one of my very favorite paintings and it's called Grandmother.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
So you know, this one is Abundant Goddess, and I use this Abundant Goddess figurine for this prehistoric figurine as my inspiration. You know, I like to paint people just doing regular things and regular settings. So I put the Abundant Goddess in a room, you know.
Nice.
And yeah, and these are a couple more. These are both based on prehistoric figurines. And okay, and so you know, like I say, I didn't just want to paint religious work and not just from the Christian tradition. So I started to paint other traditions as well. This one is Oshun from the Yoruba tradition, and Devi Saraswati, which is an Indian Hindu goddess. And this one of my very favorites, Yamoja. And here you can see how there's a carnival in San Francisco that used the image a few years ago as a backdrop for their carnival.
Nice.
And so here we have Buddha and Muhammad. Just, you know, just wanting to show other traditions as well.
Mhm. And you can see that little paintbrush at work.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You can
Actually,
see-
you know, with this Muhammad one here, um, um, I remember going to an exhibit at the New York Public Library on Fifth Avenue where it was three faiths, um, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And, you know, you're not supposed to depict Muhammad, but there were books with, you know, with his face. They
Wow.
were early on, books from early on, I suppose, and some of them had this veil. But this animal that he's sitting on, which I believe is called the Barak, when I saw it, I was like, I got to paint this animal. This thing is just fantastic. So, you know, I was inspired to make this painting.
Beautiful. All works of art are commissioned in the sense that no artist can create one by a simple act of will, but must wait until what she believes to be a good idea for a work to come to her. W. H. Auden. And these are your commission pieces. Yes?
Yeah, well, okay, so this is Mami Wata, another a Yoruban goddess. And I was commissioned to, if you want to show the next piece, Myra, the next slide, I was commissioned by the American Museum of Natural History, who saw my work online after they Googled Mami Wata. They commissioned me to okay, so they were doing a update of their mini mythic exhibit, which is a traveling exhibit that goes throughout North America to different venues. And they had different mythical creatures and they have sculptures of them. So they were looking to update the show and they saw my painting and they licensed the right to make a sculpture out of it and asked me to paint it and also to paint the backdrop. So I was very happy to do that. And it was the first time that they ever had like a living artist do something like this. And it's, you know, it's been traveling. It's supposed to travel for at least 10 years. So,
Wow.
so I was happy to do that. And they
Did you
saw the
do this
painting
at
online.
you did
I'm
this at
sorry.
your home? You
Yeah.
brought the piece back home?
Yeah. They brought it over to my place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And these pieces were commissioned by Valentine Museum out in Brooklyn. They're hanging this is at Medgar Evers College. They're on long-term loan at Medgar Evers in their library right now. You can show the next one. You can see them a little better. Yeah, just 5 paintings from the Bible. I was supposed to make more. Maybe I will one day. I don't know.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. And then this was from with LTP. This is that calendar I was talking about. This is the one that's coming out, that's out for 2021.
Mm.
And it's it, they like to say they like to hire me because I can tell a story, in a small space, but putting in a lot of stuff, and you know, I think we did that here. This is
Oh
like
my
a
goodness. So,
mhm.
so Laura, when you write on your work, do you pre-write it and then
No,
paint over it? You just
no,
you just take the black paint
yeah,
and just write with that
I
little
do,
brush?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've gotten you know, I'm sure I must have messed up, but I definitely messed up with that, early on. But I'm pretty good at it now, I'm just, you gotta be careful. I do I check everything, make sure everything is right before I, just go crazy with it. I'm slow about it, because I don't like to make mistakes. So yeah.
Wow.
But Myra, it's really practice, you know and I think that even as I look at these myself, the longer I do it, the better I get. What do you say? It's just
That's
practice
right.
and just doing it.
I
hmm
love it.
and so yeah, and so this is the calendar that's out for next year.
Very nice. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Nelson Mandela.
Mm. So these are two paintings that I did, um, you know maybe 10 years ago. I wanted to make paintings that reference slavery, but with the Ethiopian Christian art style. And so this is what I came up with. Actually, this one, American History, I was moved to do that after hearing a story about a man who was dragged to death in Texas.
Mhm.
And this was less than 10 years ago. I just thought it was horrific, actually. And there we go, American History.
Mm.
The other one, A Sermon for Our Ancestors, I had wanted to do a scroll type painting with the Sermon on the Mount. And once I started to read the Beatitudes, blessed are the meek, and blessed are the poor in spirit, and what have you. Every each of the verses, they really lent themselves to a picture of slavery. So yeah, that's what I came up with, A Sermon for Our Ancestors.
Do you write the name of the title of the painting on each painting or on a certain series or
Mostly when they're like these scroll type paintings with words and pictures.
okay.
I do. I'm very literal with it sometimes, Myra. I like people to be able to look at the paintings and see what it is. I don't want you to have to be like, what is that? Even though, yes, there is that too, but I
Mhm.
want, people to kind of relate. So
Mhm.
if I have to write the title, that's what I do.
Mhm.
So these pictures are from a series that I did, about nannies and domestic workers. My mother was both, and she actually took care of the children in the house, in our apartment. And I was there with her for the first year. She had a couple of children when I was about 4 years old. And it's another one of those curious things where you look back at your childhood and you're like, what was that all about? But many people, especially from the Caribbean, have this they can relate to having a parent that is not around, that went to a different country to make the better life and all that. So
Mhm.
these are two paintings from that series. I think we have a couple more in the next slide.
How can I move it? Why isn't it moving? All right, let's see if I do it this way. Okay, here we go.
Mhm. And here are two more paintings from that series. So I think there's about 13 to 15 paintings from this series, and we've been showing them as a group of print because they've all been collected. Um, you know, I'm interested in race and class, American history, that kind of thing.
So have you, okay, when I look at these paintings, which I absolutely love,
Thank you.
I'm reminded a lot of the surrealism.
Hmm.
Was that anything that you thought of?
Oh, definitely. I love surrealist
Calendar?
painting. I
Yeah.
love Mexican painting and Haitian paintings, and and you know, photography. Like I said, this image here, Property of a Gentleman. These all of these figurines I copied from Sotheby's catalogs. You know, I have a lot of books and catalogs and auction catalogs and things like this. I like all that stuff. I like to look at it, and then when I'm thinking about a painting, you know, I'll remember these things. And so, yeah,
Hmm.
but I do like surrealism as well. You know, because you can say anything you want. You know, you can put a person in the floor if you want to on the floorboards. You know, and it's sort of like the same thing, sort of with the Bible. You know, it's like very fantastic. You know, it's very surreal. You know,
Hmm.
so.
Hmm.
And this is another piece from that series, Extended Family.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I remember at my grandmother's funeral, the children that she took care of were like more hysterical
Mm,
than any of her
hmm.
grandchildren, or
Interesting.
it was really interesting. Yeah. If we accept and acquiesce in the face of discrimination, we accept the responsibility ourselves and allow those responsible to salve their conscience by believing that they have our acceptance and concurrence. We should, therefore, protest openly everything that smacks of discrimination or slander.
Hmm.
Mary McLeod Bethune.
That's a good one, Myra. Yeah,
Yeah.
so these are my protests pieces, I suppose.
Mhm.
This is from a new series that I'm working on now on race and reparations. And these are two sketches. I've just started to work on them. So basically, okay, so race and reparations, you know, I don't know how we're going to do reparations. I don't know about the how, but, you know, people want to know. They're like, why? Why do we need reparations? Why? Why? Well, I would like to tell you why in 10 paintings. So that's my current, that's what I'm working on. This one over here is called Inheritance. And
Mhm.
then the other one is Not Even Past. If you show the next slide, Myra, I can talk about them separately.
Okay.
So this is the work in progress. And basically, okay, so it's called Inheritance. You know, I read this stat where they say 60% of the wealth in America is inherited. And, you know, it just was like a light bulb, you know, it's like, you know, some of that is from slavery, by the way, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I have this painting here where, you know, you can see the white family being taken care of by the black people. And I wanted to show them sort of, you know, it's set in the 50s with the mid-century modern furniture and all that. But, you know, the black people are, you know, I guess they're set in the slave era, you know.
Mhm.
I don't want to talk about it too much. It's actually sort of upsetting, but okay, you want to show the next one? And this is Not Even Past. This is about so each of these pictures is going to represent like the past and the present. So in here we have you know, the past with with lynchings and just the brutality that was shown to black people, you know, not just lynchings, but burning and just all kinds of craziness, you know, people bringing their children out to watch people burn, um, you know, and it goes up into police brutality, which is the present. And even as I was just sketching these out over the summer, the top line was actually going to be empty, but then I was able to put in that George Floyd, and also Central Park Karen, and Ahmad, I'm sorry, I don't remember his last name, Ahmad Aubrey, you
Mhm.
know. So I was able to put those scenes on top. It's really funny because I was talking to somebody today about the election situation, and no matter what, it's just like, to think that people would actually vote for this racist man, no matter what you think about anything. It's just so heartbreaking, that we're like, that they're still tight on us like that. You know what I mean? It's like they're just not giving up. They're not giving it up.
Mhm.
And if you could take your kids out to watch people burn, well, I suppose you could vote for somebody like Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Anyway, so that's the end, Myra.
Yes, and I have a question before we stop sharing. Okay, we're back on. We're back. Okay, so before we open it up for questions, I want to ask you a question. You have so many images within the image, and you take wonderful liberties in where you place whatever it is that you paint. I remember seeing I don't know if it was a shoe cut out in the floor and there were eyes popping through.
Hmm.
You remember that? What do you read?
What do
Like
you mean?
like what do you like? Do you have a certain go-to? Like I have certain go-tos that I read. Like are there certain things that you read and to do your research, to do
Uh-huh.
the research that you do?
I read all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I've been reading ever since I was a teenager, just all kinds of books, all kinds of authors. I just love to learn, and reading, as is very important.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to read. It's like, now we've got Google, that's okay. But well, however you do it, you have to learn something. you know like, expand your mind, you know what I'm saying? Don't just be like watching TV all day, watching movies and stuff like that. Learn about other things, learn about other people. It's very important. It's very
Yeah.
important. you
I mean,
know
your work is super scholarly. I have to say that. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's amazing. So we have some minutes and I'm going to see what has been written. Okay, if I can work this thing. All right, let me see. Come on now. Oh, okay, let me do it this way. All right. All right, let's see. Um, okay. I answered that one. What did you paint on? Roberta asked, and it is canvas. Yes. And you said wood
Yeah,
and
sometimes on wood, mostly on
okay.
canvas now.
Roberta asked, what is the significance of the two extended figures? And Roberta, if you can,
The two fingers, oh, that's just a blessing. That means it's a blessing.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
All right. Where does the piece for Cardinal Dolan live?
It lives in his office, which I'm pretty sure is at St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Nice, nice.
Mhm.
Leah Ars asks, have you ever collaborated with a quilter? I love your paintings, true storytelling, lovely. I can definitely see the images in a quilt too, especially the images of Mary.
That's really funny because actually just today, a quilter who's on the line now, you know, we're going to do something together. So I haven't, but I am. But I would love to do that. I'm
Mhm.
excited about it.
Nice. Is the book for sale and can you still buy it?
The
Um,
Book of the Gospels, probably, I guess.
yeah,
Well,
you
yes,
can.
yes,
Yeah,
the second edition
yeah.
at ltp.org. Also, you can look on my website for a link to that,
Okay.
which is laurajamesart.com. And there's a link to all of the books that are for sale.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Veronica. Your work is phenomenal. It all reminds me of Lalibela, Ethiopia.
Yeah,
I remember you were
thank you.
there. Abundant Goddess has bees. Any
Yes.
special significance?
Well, bees represent royalty. So, she is a goddess. And it also represents a goddess too, the bees.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, thank you, Linda. Myra, you are simply wonderful. You have the power and are documenting our art history, and I appreciate all that you do. There is never enough written about contemporary artists. Laura James' work is fabulous. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Laura, for sharing some of the work that many have not seen. I hope the webinar will be available for those that did not get to tune in. Eventually, one of the things that I'm going to be doing is well, some of you know me as an archivist. I try to archive the works of people of color, art of people of color. And so I want to do a series of a set of a volume of of this series. So hopefully I will be transcribing, or maybe I'll get a grant or some publishing company out there will help me out. I want to transcribe these videos and have art and the artist and the interview in a book.
Oh, that
That
would be great.
Yeah, so that's what I want to do. So it'll be I'm going to probably stop for the first volume at 20 women, and then I'll do the next 20, and then I'll just keep going until I can. So that's what I'm working on. So yes. Um, how do we get the calendar?
Okay, so once again, you can look on my website at laurajamesart.com. Maybe I'll type it into the chat here. And I have a tab for work for sale or art for sale, something like this. And there are links to everything on my site.
Okay, yes, please do that. Thank you. I just changed it to all panelists and attendees. Let's see. Beth Mount said, stunning, thank you so much. Elaine Thorne, powerful piece. Um, oh, Kimberly Tucker asks, which of these works are for sale? Um,
Oh, well, if you look on my website, you could see, again, I have a PDF with some paintings for sale. I'm not sure I think maybe the painting for the original art for the LTP calendar, the Christian Death is available, but I don't think anything else that you've seen tonight is available. I
okay.
don't think anything else.
Yeah. And yes, Richard, those were black and white sketches, right?
Yes, those are sketches. I'm trying to, well, I'm not trying, I'm going to make 10 paintings. I actually have the ideas for all 10 of them, but I sort of want to make them sort of large and, I need time to do it, because I work on commission. So I have to I'm painting every day and it's good, very good that I'm able to do that. But, the race and reparations is sort of it's like a dream for me because I've been thinking about these paintings for so long. And then with this whole quarantine thing, I just started it, during the summer. I just had to get a, start. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that shapes up.
Okay. Hey, Tyoma from Jamaica.
Oh, Tyoma.
Yeah,
Hello, Tyoma.
I know.
Wow.
Too. Do you
That's
have
a
ideas
lot.
about why the angel's eyes are always oblique, never direct?
I don't know, actually. I mean, sometimes they are direct. I know that the eyes in general and just, having so many eyes and so many angels or what have you. And so that, most of the time these angels are painted on walls, or even the people painted on walls in churches and, and stuff like that. So it said that they follow you all over, they're watching you all the time. And so that's why I think they're like darted most of the time. Some of the times they are direct, but yes, certainly they are, you know, um, looking one way or the other most of the time. But I think it's mostly so that they can watch you wherever you go.
Okay. Laura said she has to run, but Roberta says she has to run, but Laura, your work is amazing. How do we get prints? So again, your website, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Um, Betty Lee Craft. Hi, Betty from Philly. I tuned in late. When did Ethiopian imagery enter your influence? Um,
From the very beginning.
yes.
I mean, that was the influence, as we learned earlier.
Okay.
Just seeing the book was, that influenced me to paint, you know?
Yes. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. All right. Um, the calendar is beautiful. I have purchased several as gifts. Oh, nice. All right. You put laurajamesart.com. That's
Mhm.
Laura's website. And mine is Dr. no, MyraBrownGreen.com with an H, Myra with an H, and I'll put that in. Love this format. This is from Kimberly Tucker. Love this format. It is if you were painting on the wall of the Ethiopian Coptic church. Great work. Love the last tree.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Roberta said, hi, Tyoma. Jacqueline Dupre. Hi, Jackie, Sister Dupre. Dr. Myra and Laura James, thank you for keeping telling and preserving our stories. Peace, Dupre.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's my
Yeah.
pleasure.
So, Laura, is there anything that I didn't ask or that you didn't cover that you would like to say?
Well, I'll just say, from this keeping preserving and telling our stories, um, I like to paint things that are not typically painted, let's say, like nannies and, lynchings perhaps. But, it's important because, we can talk, even telling people to read is one thing, but to show a picture, and I think that's actually probably why, well, the Catholic churches in particular, why they have so many pictures, because they want you to see, they want you to not have to, you don't have to try too hard. You can just look at this picture and see if you can understand what's happening. And that's really how I feel about my work. And, even the race paintings, I want people to see and to maybe empathize with, you know, with somebody else that you don't know, or some other situation, or you know what I mean. I'm happy to tell our stories, and I
Mhm,
hope that I get to do that for a long, long time.
mhm, mhm. Okay, there's a couple of more. Let's see, what time do we have? Okay, we have 10 more minutes. Okay, have you illustrated any children's Bibles, Tyoma?
No, I haven't. Although I do have I have a couple of people who are sort of talking to me about it right now, but no, I haven't. And that's something I would love to do. I really would, because, obvious reasons.
Yeah, that would
But
be a really nice thing.
yeah, it is something that I'm interested in doing, and hopefully soon it will happen.
Okay. Um, Donna Ray says, great presentation, Laura. Has your work been shown in Ethiopia, in Africa, or other international locations? What
You
was
know,
the
mhm.
response?
I haven't had an exhibit, and it's kind of interesting because I was talking with an organization about, putting together a traveling exhibit that would travel in Africa and in Europe, and then, the pandemic happened, so it's sort of been put on hold. But it's a church organization, and they felt that people would really appreciate the work there. So we're hoping to do that eventually, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. And I think that's why I think, having the publications
Hmm.
really helps because just seeing the group in Uganda
Right.
carrying your work, I mean, at least they had the work there. So,
Hmm.
yes.
Hmm.
So that's Africa, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So your work has been over
I
there.
guess it has. Well, not on exhibit, but yeah, many churches in Africa use the book as well.
Right. Richard came and passed me. My husband is, he's left-handed, right? So he says, Laura, thank you for your beautiful healing work after Crown Heights. Your angels really made a difference. So
Thank you,
that's from
Richard.
Richard.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. I was telling Mara yesterday that being able to do that commission early on, and just having somebody wants me to paint, and they're going to pay me to do this, and it's just great. And that was actually the very first commission that I had from
Wow.
you, Richard. So thank you very much.
Oh. Dupre said, an artist, a woman creating the pictures worth 1,000 words. How great is that? Thank you,
Thank
Dupre.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, this has been really enlightening for me. I mean, I know I've watched Laura's work over the years, but just having it all brought together in one place and being able to share it with all of you has been wonderful for me. I mean, I'm just truly, truly grateful.
Thank you, Myra. Thank you for
So
inviting me.
Oh, please. I'm so happy that you said yes. So for those of you who are out there in the audience, thank you so, so much. I do this every 2 weeks. I I interview a woman. I don't even know who the next person's going to be. I do intensive research, and it's so interesting. It's gotten to the point now where people wait like 2 days before and they're just waiting to register, and I'm so grateful for that.
Oh,
um
Myra, I have to mention, I'm sorry, because Michael Katz, the publisher of the children's book, he wanted me to remind you, he's reminding me that Anna Carries Water was published in South Africa in
oh
Afrikaans. No, not Afrikaans, in the South African language. Yes. So yes, it was published in a
oh
publisher in
in Xhosa and Zulu.
right.
um
So yes.
oh, wow, that's so wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you,
um
Michael.
yeah, thank you for sharing that. Linda Sutton says, hi, Linda.
Oh,
um
Linda.
yeah, do you know Linda Sutton?
I do.
um she said, excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Tanya Odom, thank you both. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia Howe. This was wonderful. Thank you both. Wonderful done, ladies. Congratulations. So I have your emails because you registered. I will keep sending. You can ignore it if you choose the next one, but I guarantee you it'll be something that you'll learn because I learn from them all the time. And again, Laura, if you have folks who need to see it, um, you'll have a raw copy. But thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Mara.
Thank
Thank you.
you,
And thank
Laura.
you everyone for tuning in. It was a wonderful evening, and I'm so happy that we can get together like this, even though we're far apart, we're together. So thank you all.
Yeah. And the beginning of the year, I've already reached out to my first international sister of color. And so I will be doing probably once a month, I will be interviewing someone from outside of the United States.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. You
keep
just
us
gotta ask.
posted.
They either say yes or no, right?
Yes. yes.
I mean, that's what I say, just ask, and either they say yes or no. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Laura James.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was wonderful, and I look forward to feeling your vibrations in 2 weeks. Everyone, all of you who were here from, out of New York, out of the country. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Laura, thank you.
Thank you all. Good night,
All right,
everyone.
good night. Peace and love.